Welcome, everybody. I'm going to get a little personal today and talk about my journey in starting a private practice and what I wish I knew. And so some people may have heard this before. I've talked about this before, but when I was in grad school, nobody really talked about private practice. It wasn't really a thing. I didn't really know anybody in private practice. I had gone to a few therapists myself over the years, and but it was like group practices, and they like took insurance, and there were like 1 million people, and I didn't really understand any of it prior to being, my own, a therapist myself and going to grad school. When I went to grad school, we were told, when you leave, you're not going to make any money. So in my mind, I left grad school and I didn't make any money. I made like, the $18 an hour that everybody makes like out of grad school with my student loans and my pay. My student loans higher than my pay. That's interesting. How am I going to pay this? I do remember having some emotions about that, but we won't go into that. That day the student loan payment plan came in was a quite an emotional day in my apartment. I was told you're not going to make a lot of money, and then I didn't make a lot of money. I was unlicensed. I spent 2 years unlicensed, really not making that much money. And again, nobody then was talking about private practice. It wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't on Facebook. It just wasn't out there, at least in my purview, right? It wasn't like at conferences or things that this was really being talked about. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to work at an agency. I'm going to work at an agency and I'm going to move up the hierarchy, and I'm going to try to make more money, because what I was making, wasn't going to sustain my student loans or any kind of lifestyle. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make more money. And the way that I'm going to make more money is to become a clinical director and maybe move into some kind of corporate position, right? And just really try to climb the ladder like so many people do. And I did that, and I made more money, and I was like, okay, well, like now I can pay my student loans. That's interesting. That's a nice concept. I don't have to, defer them or pay the minimums, or, I started paying my student loans, and that was pretty exciting. But I realized I wasn't happy, right? Like I was working and working and working, and it didn't feel fulfilling. It didn't feel good. Same very emotional days. And I knew that there was something more out there, right? And this was about the time, like in 2013. So it's been 8 years, when Facebook really took on a form of its own, and people started marketing things on Facebook, and people started having conversations on Facebook. And it was like people were going into private practice that I went to school with, right? Like, or that I had known, and I had learned about other private practices. And then I found, private practice coaches, and I had found people that did marketing, and I had found this whole world opened up to me. And I was like, wow. And I was actually just looking for a new job. I wanted out of my job. And I came across an ad for a private practice that was like hourly. I could go in, work hourly, do what I needed to do. And that's how I got my start. And what I wish I had known is that I could have done that at any time. I could have done that at any point. And I'm not the kind of person who has like a lot of regrets. I don't regret that I did it when I did it, or I didn't do it early. But I do think it's important to get information out to people, which is why I'm so passionate about these videos and Facebook groups and, writing blog posts and being an influencer, for lack of a better word, for, private practices and mental health, because I didn't really see a lot of that. And when I started to see it, I was so appreciative, because I think that the message has to be like, you can make money in private practice. You can make money in mental health. You don't have to just do what the people before you did because they did it. And that you don't have to keep this information if you are in private practice. It's kind of funny, because I've learned that a lot of my professors are or were in private practice, and they never really shared about that, and they never really talked about that. And I think giving information is really, really important. So if you are just thinking about starting a private practice, I like fully support you. I am excited about private practice. I'm not against agencies. I do think agencies are very valuable. I think there are amazing agency workers out there. I gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of thick skin, and a lot of friendships through working at an agency. So I never want to discount that. I'm not sort of like a private practice coach who's like, you don't ever go into an agency, they're terrible. I think that there is some benefit. Some are better than others. I would never want people to be like obviously doing fraud or being, like emotionally abused. Some of these like horror stories we hear from agencies. But I think that, there is some value in working at an agency. I had value. It's just my time ended, and now I love being in private practice. And so before I tell you a little bit about loving being in private practice, I want to thank our sponsor, TherapyNotes, something I also love because it helps my life be smooth in running my group practice. Whether you're running a solo practice or a group practice, an in-person practice or a virtual practice, TherapyNotes can really work for you. They are now offering their telehealth option for free when you subscribe. They are great with billing, and what really makes TherapyNotes stand apart, which makes my life easy, is that you can pick up the phone, you can call them, and you can get guidance on whatever it is you need. And so I want you to check out TherapyNotes. Being in private practice is not without its emotional days. There are some days when I'm like, what am I doing? This is stressful. Like 100 people emailed me today. I feel like this, like my clients need things. My Facebook group is, needing things. The contractors need things. People want a meeting, and I feel pulled in 100 directions, but I never regret it. Remember, I said I'm not the kind of person who lives my life in regret. And so I never regret it. I love it. And I hope that you can love your private practice too, because I think it's great. Let us know how we can help you to love your private practice here, answering your questions, my Private Practice Collective. I'll see you soon, everyone. Bye.